So here we are, constantly in search of something, always reaching for that next thing that we believe will finally bring us peace or happiness. It's as though we're all on this endless conveyor belt, moving from one goal to the next, never quite feeling like we've arrived. And why is that? It's because we've convinced ourselves that fulfillment lies somewhere out there, somewhere beyond our reach. We think we'll be satisfied once we get the right job, the right relationship, the right amount of money, or even the right state of mind. But have you noticed that every time you achieve one of those things, a new longing takes its place? You may feel good for a while, maybe even great, but that sense of accomplishment or happiness doesn't last. We quickly move on, setting our sights on the next goal. It's almost as if we're programmed to believe that fulfillment is always just around the corner, yet somehow that corner keeps moving. The satisfaction we're chasing slips away, and we're left feeling that familiar sense of lack, of incompleteness. And here's the truth: as long as we believe that fulfillment is somewhere else, we'll always feel lacking. By searching for happiness outside ourselves, we're reinforcing the belief that we're somehow incomplete, that we're somehow missing something essential. We're playing a game with ourselves, a game that tells us we're not enough as we are, that our lives are inadequate as they are. And this belief is what fuels the cycle of endless seeking. The problem isn't that we have goals or desires. Those are natural, they're part of being human. The problem arises when we believe that achieving these goals is the key to our happiness or our worth. That's the illusion, the mirage in the desert. We're so convinced that the next achievement will quench our thirst, but the truth is, the real oasis is right here. The peace, the sense of wholeness we're after, it's not in the next thing. It's here, within us, just waiting for us to notice it. What if, for a moment, we stopped searching? What if we took a step back from this cycle of wanting and simply observed what's here, what's now? You see, peace isn't something we find by moving outward, it's something we find by moving inward. It's not a destination, it's a state of being. And the irony is, the more we seek it outside ourselves, the more we lose touch with it. But when we let go of the need to search, when we release ourselves from this constant push and pull, peace has a way of finding us. In that stillness, without the pressure to change anything, we find that we are already enough. And in that space, we realize that there's nothing we lack, nothing we need to add to ourselves to feel whole. Fulfillment doesn't come from adding something extra to our lives. It comes from seeing clearly what's already here, already within us. When we see this, the need to chase, to strive, to keep looking for something better, begins to dissolve. So if you find yourself feeling unfulfilled, if you notice that nagging sense of lack, perhaps it's time to consider that you might not need to look any further. You don't need to be anywhere else, do anything else, or become anyone else. Just be. There is no need to run from this moment. Let go of the need to search and see what remains. And in that letting go, you may find that what remains is peace itself. We live in a culture that constantly nudges us to keep improving, to keep pushing. We're told that in order to find happiness, we need to be productive, to optimize every part of our lives, to strive for something just a little bit better than what we have now. We're surrounded by messages that say, do more, be more, achieve more, but underneath this well-intentioned push, there's an underlying message that we're never enough as we are. And if we're not careful, this idea takes hold, convincing us that peace and contentment are always conditional, just out of reach. Now, consider this for a moment. What if we are already complete, exactly as we are? What if, instead of working so hard to become someone or something else, we could learn to rest in the fullness of simply being ourselves? The truth is, all this striving, this endless reaching and improving, creates a kind of noise that drowns out the quieter, deeper sense of satisfaction that's already within us. When we're constantly looking to fix or upgrade ourselves, we overlook the quiet contentment that arises from simply existing, just as we are. And here's the thing, peace is not something that has to be created or earned. It's not waiting for us at the top of some mountain or at the end of some achievement. It's already here, right here, in the present moment. But we're so busy moving forward, so caught up in the chase, that we rarely slow down enough to feel it. Our minds are always thinking about what's next, what needs to be improved, what we haven't done yet, what we need to become in order to be happy. But this constant forward motion blinds us to the richness of the present. Imagine if we could let go of this idea of self-improvement for just a little while. Imagine if we allowed ourselves to see that we are already whole, that we don't need to add anything to ourselves to be valuable. When we drop the need to be different or better, we begin to notice the beauty in what's here in the ordinariness of life. Suddenly, moments that once seemed mundane take on a quiet kind of magic. It's as if by letting go of the idea that we need to be somewhere else, we start to see the beauty of where we already are. And it's not that we're giving up or resigning ourselves to stagnation. It's quite the opposite. When we stop pushing against the present, we open up space to fully engage with it. We're no longer distracted by thoughts of what we need to become. And we're able to give our attention to what's already here. This shift brings a sense of ease, a freedom from the constant judgment and self-criticism that come from feeling we're not enough. So let's not underestimate the power of simply being. Let's take a moment to be with ourselves as we are, without the endless need to improve or change. Let's allow ourselves to experience the peace that's available when we let go of this idea of self-betterment and instead embrace self-acceptance. And in that space of acceptance, you may find a quiet strength, a sense of calm that was always there, just waiting for you to stop, to listen, and to simply be. There's something fascinating about our search for meaning. We look everywhere for it, don't we? We dive into relationships, careers, hobbies, philosophies, hoping one of these will be the answer to that lingering feeling of incompleteness. We believe that if we just find the right path, the right passion, or the right person, we'll finally feel at ease. And yet so many of us know deep down that no matter what we achieve or attain, there always seems to be something missing. The trouble is that we've been conditioned to think that life's meaning is something external, something that has to be uncovered, chased, and won. But think about it, what if meaning isn't something we find? What if it's something we cultivate by how we engage with each moment? When we look at life through this lens, the search for meaning becomes less about an outward quest and more about the quality of our awareness, our openness to each experience as it is. The very search itself, the endless need to look for answers outside ourselves, can be the very thing that keeps us from the peace we're after. Consider the idea that life itself, in all its ordinary moments, holds a natural sense of wholeness. We don't need to attach a grand purpose to every action or find deeper significance in every event. When we let go of the pressure to find meaning, we allow ourselves to simply be, and in that space we can start to experience a kind of satisfaction that isn't dependent on achievements or labels. We realize that meaning isn't a destination, it's woven into every breath, every small interaction, and every quiet pause. You see, life doesn't have to be dissected and analyzed to be enjoyed. Imagine looking at a sunset. Do we ask, what does this mean, or how can this moment serve my future? No, we simply enjoy it. We let the beauty of it wash over us, experiencing it fully without needing to label it. And in that we find something richer than meaning, we find contentment. Life can be just like that. The more we stop trying to define it, the more we let go of the search, the more we allow ourselves to be present with it as it unfolds. And the beauty of this approach is that, paradoxically, the less we demand meaning from life, the more it feels meaningful on its own. We begin to appreciate the subtle moments, the taste of morning coffee, the sound of rain, the warmth of a friend's laughter, not because they fulfill some grand purpose, but simply because they are part of this experience of living. So maybe the answer isn't to keep looking. Maybe it's to stop, to breathe, and to realize that life is rich right here, right now, without needing a single ounce more of significance. When we release ourselves from the need to label or justify every experience, we allow life's natural beauty to reveal itself. And in that simple act of being, we find a peace that can't be chased, only welcomed. So let's take a moment to drop the search. Let's just be here. Because sometimes it's in the absence of seeking that we find exactly what we've been looking for all along. When we talk about letting go of the endless search for meaning, we often bump into the idea of acceptance. And I don't mean passive acceptance or giving up or resigning ourselves to things as they are without ever desiring change. No, it's something far deeper, something more alive. Acceptance is a state of allowing ourselves to fully inhabit the present moment, just as it is without wishing for it to be something else. It's the art of embracing reality in its raw form, with all its ups and downs, its unpredictable twists and gentle beauty. In a way, acceptance is like stepping out of the storm of resistance we create in our minds. Have you noticed how much of our energy goes into resisting what we're experiencing? We often think, I don't like this, this isn't fair, it shouldn't be this way. We wrap our lives in these judgments, constantly pushing against the moment as it is. But this resistance only amplifies our discomfort. The more we fight against reality, the more we find ourselves in conflict with it. And that conflict, that tension, becomes the very source of our dissatisfaction. What if, instead, we tried to soften our approach? Rather than meeting life with resistance, we can try to meet it with curiosity, with openness, with the willingness to experience things as they are, without the need to control every outcome. In acceptance, we discover a profound freedom not from our circumstances, but from the weight of needing them to be different. We realize that the things we thought we couldn't bear, we actually can. The things we thought we needed to change, we don't always have to. You see, acceptance doesn't mean liking everything that happens to us. It's not about pretending that pain or discomfort don't exist. It's about embracing a wider view, one that allows us to see each experience as part of a greater whole. Even our pain, our discomfort, our uncertainty, these two are aspects of life that deserve a place in our awareness. They are invitations to grow, to feel, to connect with our deeper selves in ways that wouldn't be possible if everything was smooth and easy. And there's a surprising beauty in this approach. When we start to practice acceptance, we discover that even the simplest things take on a new richness. We stop waiting for life to give us only the pleasant, the convenient, the enjoyable. We begin to find peace in moments we once overlooked, the way the light filters through the leaves, the sound of the wind at dusk, the feeling of warm tea in our hands. These small, quiet moments reveal themselves to us in a way they couldn't when we were caught up in resistance. So rather than focusing on how life could or should be different, let's try to focus on what it is, right here, right now. Let's give ourselves permission to experience it fully, to open our hearts to the way things are. Because in that acceptance we find a peace that goes beyond understanding. It's a peace that's not about everything going our way, but about finding harmony with life exactly as it unfolds. And when we reach this state, life itself becomes less of a struggle and more of a dance, one in which we are not constantly striving to control the rhythm, but instead allowing ourselves to move along with it. In this dance, we find the peace that has always been here, waiting for us to notice. So, let's consider the nature of presence, this idea of being completely here and now. It seems simple, right? Just to be present, to fully inhabit each moment as it unfolds. And yet, for most of us, it's one of the hardest things to actually do. Our minds are like time-traveling machines, always bouncing back to the past, regretting, reminiscing, or darting forward to the future with plans and worries, dreams and anxieties. In the process, the present, the one thing that's truly real, is somehow left behind, unnoticed. But here's something fascinating about presence. It's the only place where life actually happens. The past is gone. It's a memory, no matter how vivid. The future is yet to come. It's only an idea. And while we can learn from our memories and plan for what's ahead, the essence of life, the actual, beating heart of it, exists only here and now. Presence is not only where we connect most fully with our own experience, but where we connect with each other too. It's where life feels vivid and complete. The more we invest our attention in the now, the more alive we become, the more awake to the richness of each moment. Think about it. When was the last time you really listened to someone without thinking of what you were going to say next, without mentally wandering off? Or a moment when you were in a beautiful place, and instead of capturing it with a camera or describing it to a friend, you just felt be there, fully experiencing it. Those rare moments when we are truly present, we can feel the difference, can't we? There's an undeniable clarity, a simplicity. The ordinary becomes extraordinary. Colors are brighter, sounds are sharper, and everything feels a little more real. But we've been conditioned to treat presence as though it's some kind of luxury, something we can only afford once we've ticked off everything else on our to-do list. I'll be present when I get through my work, when things calm down, when life becomes easier. But of course that moment never actually arrives because life keeps on moving, presenting new demands, new tasks, new reasons to be somewhere else mentally. Presence, though, is an active choice, not a passive state we drift into when things are ideal. It's a decision to show up fully without reservations, without needing things to be perfect. We might think it takes time to get good at being present, but in reality it's something we can choose now. It's a way of looking at the world, of deciding that no matter where we are, there's value in fully experiencing this moment. In learning to just be here now, we unlock something profound, something that can't be bought or taught, only discovered through our own awareness. Imagine for a moment living like that, not just occasionally, but as a regular way of being. Imagine what it would be like to meet each day, each experience, with a kind of open-hearted curiosity, welcoming it without needing it to be different. Imagine living with the freedom to let go of everything but the moment at hand, trusting that whatever comes, we are equipped to meet it. There is a deep and abiding peace in this approach, a sense that whatever happens, we're already home. The beautiful thing is, presence doesn't ask anything of us. We don't need to buy it, learn it, or earn it. It's there, available to each of us always. We simply have to be willing to step into it, to experience life without the filters of before and after. In this state, we find a true intimacy with life, an intimacy with ourselves and with everything around us. So let's stop waiting for the right time to be present. Let's recognize that this moment, imperfect as it might be, is enough. Right here, right now, we have all that we need. Now let's explore a fascinating realization, the idea that happiness doesn't come from chasing things. We spend so much of our lives in pursuit, always after something we think will complete us, or finally make us whole, a new relationship, a promotion, a certain status, the approval of others. But when we stop to reflect on it, we see a cycle. As soon as we achieve one goal, another one appears on the horizon. It's like chasing the end of a rainbow forever out of reach, no matter how fast we run. What if the real key to peace is to simply let go of this endless search? To stop treating happiness as a prize to be won and instead recognize it as something that's available to us right here, right now, within each of us. The moment we stop looking to the world to provide our fulfillment, we open ourselves up to an immense freedom. We discover that the peace we've been searching for was never out there in the first place. It's always been within, quietly waiting for us to notice. Think about the times when you felt truly happy, truly at ease. Chances are these moments weren't the result of achieving something or finally getting what you wanted. More often than not, they were moments when you were simply present, completely content to be where you were. Maybe you were out in nature or laughing with friends or sitting quietly by yourself. In those moments, there's no chase, no sense of needing to be anywhere else. Just a simple, pure contentment that arises naturally. When we stop looking outside ourselves, we begin to see the richness of what's already here. We start to appreciate the small, beautiful details that we often overlook: the warmth of the sun, the sound of the wind in the trees, the feeling of simply being alive. These things might seem ordinary, but in reality they're anything but. Each moment is a gift filled with endless possibility and beauty, if only we have the eyes to see it. And here's where the journey turns inward. When we stop trying to fill ourselves up with things or people, we begin to notice what lies within the space, the silence, the boundless peace that doesn't rely on anything external. It's as though we've been carrying a well of happiness within us all along, yet we've been so busy looking outside that we forgot to drink from it. The beauty of this inner well is that it's inexhaustible. It doesn't deplete when we use it, it grows richer and deeper. The more we draw from it, the more we realize that we are enough, that we don't need anything outside ourselves to feel complete. By embracing this truth, we experience a profound shift. We move from seeking to simply being, from wanting to appreciating, from struggling to accepting. Life becomes simpler, lighter, and infinitely more satisfying because we're no longer held hostage by the need for external validation or material success. But we understand that true happiness isn't conditional on anything outside of us. It's a state of mind, a way of being, and it's available to us all the time. Imagine a life lived this way, a life where we're no longer driven by the compulsion to achieve or possess, where we find joy in the simple act of existing. In this way of being, we don't need to search for happiness, we simply live it. And in doing so, we become a source of peace, not only for ourselves, but for everyone around us. So let's stop the search and start living fully. In the present, with the understanding that we already have all we need to be content. In this space of simply being, we find a peace that no achievement, no possession could ever provide. As we explore the concept of simply being, let's consider how often we allow our thoughts to pull us away from this very state. Our minds, with their endless chatter, are like a restless ocean constantly shifting, bringing waves of thought and emotion that can easily sweep us away. Thoughts about the past, worries about the future, opinions, judgments, all this noise clouds the mind and keeps us from experiencing the present moment. But there's an interesting shift that occurs when we recognize that we don't have to attach to every thought that arises. Just because a thought enters our mind doesn't mean it's true, doesn't mean we have to follow it down its winding path. We have the power to observe it, to let it come and go without clinging to it, like watching clouds drift by in the sky. This freedom from attachment to thought is one of the greatest gifts we can give ourselves. It opens up a space within us, a space that allows us to experience life directly, without the constant commentary. Imagine for a moment walking through a beautiful forest. If your mind is elsewhere, thinking about what needs to be done tomorrow, or replaying an argument from yesterday, you miss the beauty around you. You're physically present, but mentally you're somewhere else entirely. The colors of the leaves, the fragrance of the earth, the sounds of birdsong, all of it fades into the background as your thoughts take center stage. But if, in that moment, you simply let go of the thoughts, you open yourself to the forest. You begin to see things as they truly are, without the filter of your mind. It's the same with life. When we let go of our mental attachments, we become more open, more receptive. We're able to fully engage with whatever is in front of us, to see the richness of each moment as it is, without needing to judge or label it. This doesn't mean that thoughts stop appearing altogether. They will continue to rise and fall, just as waves do. But rather than being pulled along by each one, we learn to simply observe them, to let them be. We find ourselves rooted in the calm below the waves, in the stillness that exists beneath the surface. And this stillness is transformative. From this place of inner quiet, we become more grounded, more peaceful, more connected. We stop feeling like we need to react to everything, to take on every thought or emotion as if it defines us. We start to realize that we are not our thoughts, we are the awareness behind them. This awareness is like a vast open sky. Thoughts may come and go, but they can never truly disturb this inner space. In fact, in moments of deep presence, thoughts often slow down on their own, as if they too sense the peace that lies here. It's as though by not feeding them with our attention, they lose their power over us. We find ourselves breathing more deeply, seeing more clearly, feeling a deeper sense of contentment that isn't tied to anything external. We realize that beneath all the noise and activity of the mind, there is a stillness that is unwavering, a peace that is always accessible, no matter what is happening around us. So let's bring our awareness back again and again to this moment. Each time our minds try to pull us away, let's return gently, without judgment. Let's remember that true peace is found not in controlling our thoughts, but in learning to let them be, in allowing ourselves to simply rest in the present undisturbed. When we find this peace, we find ourselves, and from here, life becomes not a series of struggles to overcome, but a gift to be experienced. And in this gift, we discover the deepest truth that peace is not something we need to seek or create. It is simply what remains when we let go of everything else. Let's take a moment to talk about the ways we complicate our own lives. Much of this complexity comes from our constant need to label, analyze, and categorize every experience. We think we're helping ourselves, gaining control, understanding, but often we're actually piling on layers of interpretation that obscure the simple truth of each moment. We think about our emotions and try to define them. This is anger, this is disappointment, this is joy, and once we label them, we start analyzing why they're there, what they mean, how long they'll last, and what we should do about them. Suddenly we've built a story around a passing feeling, a narrative that now feels personal, significant, and weighty. We get lost in the details, and before we know it, we're carrying around a burden that's entirely self-created. But there's a simplicity we can discover, one that comes from allowing emotions to be what they are without adding to them. Emotions are simply energy moving through us, an ever-changing flow that, if left untouched, rises and falls, comes and goes. The trouble begins when we resist or try to change what we're feeling. We think that resisting will make it go away or lessen its power, but in truth, resistance is what makes it persist. Resisting the flow of an emotion gives it something to push against, something to grab onto. Imagine you're holding a tight fist around a handful of sand. The tighter you squeeze, the more it slips through your fingers. But if you loosen your grip, the sand settles naturally in your hand. Our emotions are like that sand. Trying to control them only intensifies the struggle, whereas loosening our grip allows them to exist without taking over. So, this isn't to say we should suppress our feelings or ignore them. Quite the opposite. When we allow emotions to rise and fall without interference, we actually get to know them more intimately, but in a way that's free from attachment. We observe anger without becoming the angry one. We feel sadness without becoming the sad one. We feel joy without clinging to it as something we must keep. And when we relate to our emotions in this way, we also become less reactive. Rather than being driven by emotions, we simply witness them, acknowledging that they're part of our human experience, but not the entirety of who we are. This shift can be life-changing. Suddenly we have space between us and our emotions. There's a calm observer within that watches without judgment that knows it doesn't need to get tangled up in every passing feeling. This is freedom, isn't it? It's not about denying what we feel, nor is it about endlessly processing every emotion. It's about finding peace in the ebb and flow, recognizing that these emotions don't define us. They're like weather passing through rain, sunshine, clouds, they come, they go, and none of them stay forever. What remains always is the vast sky in which all these experiences arise. When we live from this place, from this spacious awareness, we're no longer held hostage by our own emotional storms. We begin to feel a deep sense of trust in ourselves and in life. We trust that whatever arises, we have the capacity to handle it, to let it move through us without holding on. This doesn't mean that life will be free of challenge, but it does mean that we can meet each moment with openness and resilience. So let's stop complicating what's naturally simple. Let's remember that we are not our thoughts, not our emotions, but the space in which they arise. And in that simplicity, in that freedom from attachment, we find a depth of peace that cannot be shaken. This is where we find ourselves, and this is where we find true freedom. Let's explore a common habit of the mind, our need for constant seeking. From a young age, we're taught to search for answers, for purpose, for meaning. But this seeking, this relentless reaching out, often leads us away from the very peace we hope to find. It's as if we're wandering through a vast, beautiful garden, but instead of enjoying the scenery, we're fixated on the idea that there's something better hidden just beyond our reach. So we move in circles, looking here and there, driven by the belief that we need something more to feel complete. The irony is, the more we seek, the further we can feel from ourselves. Each new answer, each new destination only adds another layer of desire, another reason to keep searching. And when we finally reach what we thought we needed, it's often a fleeting satisfaction, isn't it? We soon find ourselves back in the same pattern, setting our sights on the next goal, the next bit of wisdom, the next level of enlightenment. It becomes exhausting, this cycle of striving, as though our value is measured by what we achieve or understand. Now let's consider something radical. What if there's nothing to find, nothing to prove, nowhere else to be? What if the very peace and contentment we're seeking already exist within us, quietly present in each passing moment? We're often so caught up in chasing ideas or destinations that we forget the possibility of simply being imagined, letting go of the need to attain anything, if only for a moment. Suddenly, life is here exactly as it is, and we're free to experience it without the weight of constant expectation. In that space, we notice things we usually overlook, the stillness in the background, the subtle sensations of being alive. We see the beauty of a tree, hear the birds, feel the gentle rhythm of our own breathing. There's a richness in these simple observations, a calm joy that arises naturally when we're not preoccupied with doing or achieving. This isn't to say that goals or ambitions are meaningless, but rather that they don't hold the key to our fulfillment. Fulfillment comes when we recognize the wholeness that's already here. Goals and desires can be expressions of our natural curiosity and creativity, but they're not the source of our worth or our happiness. And this shift in perspective brings tremendous freedom. When we realize we don't need anything external to complete us, we stop clinging to outcomes, people, or possessions as though they define us. Relationships become easier, work becomes lighter, and challenges feel less overwhelming. We approach each moment with openness, aware that the present is enough. The more we let go of the need to search, the more we settle into a kind of peace that can't be shaken by the ups and downs of life. In embracing the beauty of simply being, we open ourselves to a life that's free, spontaneous, and deeply fulfilling. We're no longer on a path of endless seeking, but on a journey of appreciating the here and now just as it is. So let us give up the endless chase, even just a little. Let us rest in the peace of being, knowing that this right here is more than enough. Now let's delve into a crucial aspect of our journey toward discovering the peace of simply being, embracing the beauty of impermanence. Life in its essence is a flowing river, constantly changing, never static. Yet as human beings, we often cling to moments, to feelings, to people, as if they were solid, unchanging entities. We build attachments, perhaps thinking that they can give us stability, but in doing so, we inadvertently set ourselves up for disappointment and suffering. Consider this: every experience you have, every relationship you form is like a leaf floating on that river. They come into your life beautifully vibrant and alive, but inevitably they drift away. This is not something to fear or resist, rather, it is the very nature of existence. Just as seasons change and the tides ebb and flow, our lives are in a constant state of transformation. When we accept this truth, we begin to understand that there is a profound beauty in letting go. Imagine if we could view impermanence not as a loss, but as an opportunity. Each moment is unique, a fleeting gift that invites us to savor its essence without the need to hold on. They exist in the past, yes, but their impact can still resonate in the present. When we cling to the past, we often overlook the beauty of what's unfolding right now. Instead of trying to recreate those moments, we can learn to celebrate them as part of our journey, appreciating the lessons they bring without getting trapped in nostalgia. In relationships, this understanding of impermanence can be incredibly liberating. When we accept that people will come and go from our lives, we can approach connections with more openness and authenticity. We often fear losing someone so much that we end up trying to control the relationship, placing unnecessary pressure on ourselves and on them. But what if we shifted our perspective? What if we saw each connection as a unique chapter in our story, meant to enrich us, teach us, and help us grow? This doesn't mean we love any less. On the contrary, it allows us to love more freely. When we recognize that love does not possess, but rather flows, we create space for deeper, more genuine connections. We learn to appreciate moments together without the fear of what tomorrow may bring. Each encounter becomes a celebration of existence, a dance of shared experiences rather than a struggle to hold on. And let's not forget about our own selves. Often we cling to outdated versions of ourselves, holding on to identities or beliefs that no longer serve us. The journey of self-discovery is one of continual evolution. Embracing impermanence means recognizing that we are not fixed, we are works in progress. It's a reminder that it's perfectly okay to change our minds, to grow, and to shed the layers that no longer resonate with who we are today. As we learn to accept the transient nature of life, we cultivate a sense of freedom. We stop fighting against the current and instead flow with it. In this flow, we find a sense of peace that is unshakable, rooted not in what we have or who we are, but in our ability to be present in every moment. We discover that our worth is not tied to permanence, to how long we can hold on, but to how fully we engage with the here and now. So let us embrace the impermanence that is life. Let us celebrate each fleeting moment, each changing tide, and in doing so discover a profound peace that comes from simply being. Because in the end it is not about holding on, but about learning to dance with the flow.